Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Upper Gwynedd Township Zoning Hearing Board for Tuesday, April 27th, 2021. So tonight's e-hearing is being live streamed on the township's website, uppergwynedd.org, and on Facebook. As permitted by Act 15 of 2020, tonight's hearing is being held virtually. In addition to being stenographically recorded, as I mentioned, the hearing is also being live streamed. I would ask that everybody please stay muted when they are not speaking. Also, in order for the stenographer to accurately capture the proceedings, it is important that only one person speak at a time. All applicants for tonight's hearings were notified in advance and provided instructions on how to participate electronically. Applicants were also requested to provide copies of any exhibits they intend to use so that the same could be made available for public review on the township's website in advance of tonight's meeting. I would ask that if any applicant tonight introduces an exhibit that was not previously provided and made available on the township's website, that the applicant make specific note of this so that the board and the public are aware. The Zoning Hearing Board has required that all applicants and their witnesses participate in tonight's hearing using both audio and visual capabilities. Anyone wishing to be a party to the proceedings is also invited to participate using both audio and visual capabilities. For those who wish only to provide public comment, you can participate via audio and will be permitted at the appropriate time to state your comments on the pending application. Please remember that you will need to state your name and address for the record before offering your public comment. So we have 2 out of the 4 hearings that were originally scheduled tonight are being continued. So I'm going to go ahead and go through those 2 first, just so that we can open the record and have some exhibits placed on the record. All right, so the first one here, it is hearing number 21-03, Ramaco Fuels of 103 Carnegie Center, Suite 345, Princeton, New Jersey, for property located at 868 Sumneytown Pike, Lansdale, Pennsylvania, for a variance from section 195-35.I.2b to permit a sign with red or green lights to be within 75 feet of a public right-of-way and within 200 feet of a traffic control device, and a variance from section 195-35.J.2L2, 195-35.J.2L3, 195, -35.J.2L5, and 195 attachment 3 relating to sign regulations schedule to permit 2 LED fuel price facade signs with 2 colors for each sign and a total sign area that exceeds 50% of the allowable sign area and a sign height that exceeds 12 feet. The property is zoned C commercial. And now I don't believe the parties are here, but just in case, I just want to see, are any of the parties here for this matter?
Mr. Chairman, no. The attorney for the party is not here tonight.
Okay. So Mr. Hitchens, would you like to introduce some exhibits?
I would, Mr. Chairman. So first, for purposes of the record, and as you'll hear, I will be marking a continuance request that was submitted by the zoning applicant's attorney. Additionally, just so that the board is aware, staff and myself had advised the zoning applicant's attorney that they did not need to be here tonight in light of their continuance request. So I don't want there to be any misunderstanding or whatnot. There is no disrespect made by the applicant. It was just staff and myself had told them they didn't need to be here because of it.
Absolutely.
So first, I'm going to mark as ZHB1 the proof of publication and the legal notice for tonight's hearing. I'm going to mark as ZHB2 a copy of the verification of posting of the property. I'm going to mark as ZHB3 a copy of the township website notice for tonight's hearing. A copy for ZHB4 of the parcel map with the addresses for those who received or were sent mailed notice. As ZHB 5, I'm going to mark the applicant's application along with the supplement and that included sign permit documents as well as the proposed sign. At ZHB 6, I'd like to mark the letter from the applicant's counsel to the ZHB solicitor, which would be myself, dated February 23rd, 2021, in which the applicant's counsel requested that the hearing be scheduled for tonight, April 27th, 2021. And then I'm going to mark as ZHB 7, another letter from applicant's counsel, this time to the zoning hearing officer, Mr. Van Rieker, dated April 20th, 2021, requesting that the hearing be continued to the May ZHB hearing date.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hitchens. And then just to clarify, so this is being continued to Tuesday, May 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. to our virtual hearing for that evening, correct?
That would be correct.
Okay, great. All right, so moving on, and like I said, we're just going to temporarily move ahead on the list to another matter that's going to be continued. So this one is hearing number 21-05, and I apologize in advance if I pronounce it correctly. Geistley Automatics for 2 parcels located at 800 North Wales Road, North Wales, Pennsylvania, 19454. Parcel numbers 56-00-05977-00-6 and 56-00-05976-00-7 for a variance from section 195-25.K.3 to permit a building setback of 65 feet where 200 feet is required from a residential district, and a variance from 195-25.K.3G3 to permit parking setback of 65 feet where 100 feet is required from a residential district setback variance from residential district to construct a concrete pad with driveway access improvements for use of machinery and equipment at the existing site. Or in the alternative, an interpretation that proposed concrete pad with driveway access improvements does not need zoning relief under the doctrine of natural expansion or under the existing language of section 195-25.K.3D1. The property is zoned LI Limited Industrial. And Mr. Hitchens, just to clarify for this matter separately, is my understanding correct that you advised the applicant and their counsel that they did not have to be here this evening?
That would be correct. It was me again who advised them in light of the continuance request, they did not need to be here tonight.
And if you could please enter any exhibits.
Certainly. So on behalf of the board, I would like to enter in the following exhibits. As the HB1 will be the proof of publication and the legal notice for tonight's meeting. As the HB2 will be the verification of posting of the property for tonight's meeting. As the HB3 is a copy of the township's website notice for tonight's meeting. ZHB4 will be a copy of the parcel map with addresses for those who received or were sent mailed notice. As ZHB5 will be a copy of the applicant's application with attached addendum. As ZHB6 will be a zoning plot plan prepared by Urweiler, that's URWILER, and Walter, dated March 24th, 2021. As ZHB7, this will be an email that the township had received from Brent Shellhammer, that's SCHELLHAMER, to the zoning hearing board solicitor, dated April 16th, 2021. As ZHB8, I'm going to mark another email, this one from a gentleman named Patrick Davis, This was also sent to the zoning officer dated April 27th, 2021. And finally, ZHB 9 will be a copy of the email that both myself and Mr. Van Rieker received from the applicant's attorney today, April 27th, 2021, requesting a continuance to the May meeting date.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
If I could add, Mr. Connolly and the board, I did speak with the applicant's attorney today after we had received the continuance request. The applicant is aware of both Mr. Schellheimer and Mr. Davis's public comments. They've already communicated with Mr. Schellheimer and Mr. Davis, and I suspect the continuance might be part of their ongoing discussion to address the concerns that they had raised.
Thank you. And just so that I'm clear, so then we are continuing this to the May 25th, 2021 hearing at 7 p.m. and then that will be at our virtual hearing. Is that accurate?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, great. All right, so now moving on to the first hearing of the night. So it's going to be hearing number 21-04. And then that's Chris Perez and Megan Cracky. And again, my apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly, of 222 Hunter Lane, North Wales, Pennsylvania, 19454, for property located at the same address, for a variance from section 195-12.B.3 to permit a front yard setback of 34 feet where 50 feet is required, or the construction of a 14-foot by 16-foot sunroom front entrance to the existing dwelling. The property is zoned R2 residential. And Mr. Hitchens, do you have any exhibits to enter this evening?
I do have board exhibits, and before I enter those, I would just like to make sure or confirm that the applicant, and I believe there's some members of the public who requested to participate, are let into the room.
All right, we're gonna unmute.
Okay, and Erica, if you could confirm, has everybody who requested to participate as a part of this hearing been let into the room?
Yes, everybody's in the room.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Connolly, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy at this time to mark the hearing board exhibits, or if you prefer to have everybody identify themselves first before I mark the exhibits. You're muted, Mr. Connolly.
Thank you. Yeah, let's have everybody identify themselves. So could the applicant please identify him or herself?
Yep, that's us. I'm Megan Krejci. My husband's name's Christopher Perez, and here's our 3 kids minus 1. You're on mute.
Keep doing this. Okay, thank you. And I see that there are some other members of the public here tonight. And if each of you could identify yourselves one at a time. So I'm going to start with, and then if you want to request party status as well, I guess we can do that at this stage. So I'm going to start with the Zoom that's listed as Ruth.
There, okay. I'm Ruth Baltozer, and I live at 229 Hancock Road, in a property which is behind the home where the variance is requested.
And I'm Gary Baltozer.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hitchens, should we request party status one at a time, or should we do it all at once?
Well, what I was going to suggest is this, and again, I'll let you decide as it is your meeting, Mr. Chairman. But first, I'm happy to give a brief explanation of what party status means so that folks understand what it is, because it's their option. And then 2, it might be beneficial for you just to go through everybody's list and then ask them who would like party status after they've identified themselves.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Hitchens, if you could go ahead and just explain party status a little bit more, that would be helpful.
Certainly. So for folks who are members of the public who would like to participate, you really have 2 ways to participate. You could either 1, request party status, or 2, you could just simply provide public comment. All of our zoning hearing board hearings, as required by law, include a section that involve public comment. So if you're here to provide just a comment on your feelings, thoughts, either support or objection to an application, you can certainly do that during the public comment section. In fact, it's the very last section before the board decides the application. So you kind of almost get your last word in. However, for those who want to participate in a more formal way, they can ask for party status. Asking for formal party status essentially grants you certain rights and abilities. Some of those abilities include being able to, one, present your own case, either typically in opposition to the applicant's case. And that means you can present your own witnesses, your own documents, and the like. It also gives you the opportunity to ask questions of any witnesses that are presented by the applicant. However, it also allows the applicant to ask questions of you, which means that you, as a party to the proceedings, the applicant does have a right to ask questions of you as a part of the proceedings. It also entitles you to get a copy of the decision that is issued by the board with regard to this application, and also gives you certain appeal rights should you disagree with that decision.
Thank you, Mr. Hitchens. Mr. and Mrs. Baltoser, would you like to request party status this evening?
Right.
Yes, please.
Okay. And then does the applicant have any objection to them being granted party status?
No.
Okay. Mr. Hitchens, should we do a vote on this, or may I just admit them as parties?
I think that, let's put it this way, Mr. and Mrs. Baltoser, did you get a written notice or copy of a written notice with regard to tonight's hearing?
Yes, we did.
Mr. Connolly, I would say if they got written notice, that's probably within the appropriate distance that I don't think a vote is necessary.
Okay, thank you. All right, so then we will go ahead and admit you as parties here. So thank you, and then
Thank you.
And then next, I'm going to go to the Zoom window that says Denise, Ellison, and Bob. I believe is it Geiger? I think it got cut off on Zoom. Thank you. So go ahead.
You go first. You don't have to hold that.
Oh, we're on mute.
Yes.
Hi. So I'm Denise Ellison. We live at 230 Hunter Lane, so 2 doors down from 222.
And I'm Robert Geiger. I live here as well. We're a married couple, and we request party status.
Okay, great. Thank you. And does the applicant have any objection to them entering as parties?
No.
Okay. All right. So then I'll also go ahead and admit both of you as parties as well. Okay, great. Thank you. And then I'm going to move on to the Zoom window that's identified as Tom.
Oh, that's our architect company.
Okay, my apologies. Okay, so
You want to ask him, we would want him to also be party status. So if you need to ask him anything about his company, they've built thousands of these sunrooms, like, please feel free.
well, we can swear him in as a witness at the appropriate time. So, but it now, and I just want to make sure that I have all the windows and that there aren't any missing. Oh, okay. I apologize. I think I missed one person. So if we could, I also want to ask that there's one Zoom window and it says Judy. If you could go ahead.
Hi, yes, I am the next door neighbor. I live at 226 Hunter Lane. And I would also like to have party status.
Could you give us your full name for the record?
It's Judy Walsh, W-A-L-S-H.
Okay, thank you. Great. All right. And then does the applicant have any objection? Okay,
No.
great. All right, then we'll go ahead and admit you as a party here as well. And then let me just double check here again if I see anybody else. I do not think I see anybody else here. All right. Thank you, everybody. So, Mr. Hitchens, going back, if you could enter the board exhibits, that would be great.
Certainly. So, Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would like to mark the following exhibits as board exhibits. I'm going to mark as ZHB1 a copy of the proof of publication and the legal notice for tonight's hearing. I'm going to mark as ZHB2 a copy of the verification of posting, which is the posting of the property for tonight's hearing. I'm going to mark as ZHB3 a copy of the township website notice for tonight's hearing. I'm going to mark as ZHB4 a copy of the parcel map with addresses for those folks who received mailed notice for tonight's hearing, which obviously included those who have requested party status. I'm going to mark as ZHB5 a copy of the applicant's application along with the accompanying drawings that were submitted. I'm going to mark as ZHB6 a copy of a written supplement that contains photographs as well as text that was submitted by the applicant after its application was submitted. I'm going to mark as ZHB7 a copy of a petition list that was submitted by the applicant containing names and signatures of neighbors, presumably in support of the applicant's application. I'm going to mark as ZHB8 a photograph of the proposed sunroom or the proposed structure as seen on the house, as well as a letter from Michael Foti, F-O-T-I, of SRA Home Products regarding emergency access that was also submitted by the applicant. And I'm going to mark as ZHB9 4 emails collectively that were received by the township with regard to public comment for tonight's hearing. These 4 emails total approximately 5 pages. And the first email was from a David Horn, dated April 16th, 2021. Second email was from Denise Ellison and Robert Geiger, dated April 19th, 2021. The next one was an email from Sean and Judy Walsh, dated April 16th, 2021. And the last one is from Gary and Ruth Baltzoser. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Dated April 21st, 2021. Given that 3 of those 4 public comments are folks who have been granted party status tonight, I don't believe that there's a need to read those emails in full. Those parties can read their emails or make whatever comment they would like during the appropriate session. If the board would like, we can read into the record the public comments submitted by Mr. Horn at this time.
Okay, I guess, do we want to go ahead and, do we want to read that now or at public comment?
That's up to you, Mr. Chairman. We could do it during public comment, just if we remember, make sure we remind ourselves to do it.
I'll go ahead and read it now, but I just want to clarify one thing. That correspondence that you listed, I believe, should that be Exhibit 10? Because I believe Exhibit 9 is the correspondence from Michael Foti.
Correct. Oh, no, I apologize. I marked collectively as 8, both the one-page photograph as well as the letter from Mr. Foti.
Okay, thank you. I missed that.
Yeah,
all right, so let me go ahead here. Let me find it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead here and read the email from David Horn, and this email was received by Mr. Reeker on April 16th of 2021. I object to the granting of a variance at 222 Hunter Lane. I would like to see renderings. However, the proposed change, along with the fact half of the front lawn was recently turned into a driveway, will make the home appear like a business and not a single family residence. I could say more regarding aesthetics and property values, but will remain brief. I owned the home at 221 Hunter Lane, directly across the street where my family lived from 1986 until 2002. I currently live at 1472 Wheaton Lane and have for the last 15 years. I knew the original owners of 222, the Chens, a little bit. I was very close to the second owners, Gary and Donna. The third owners, George and Chrissy, were nice as well. I spend time on Hunter Lane just about daily with friends. I also understand 223 Hancock Road, directly behind 222 Hunter, has a similar room on the front. This is a little different as they kept a normal, parentheses, formal driveway with a garage in the rear, and the room is smaller than the proposed at 222. Thank you. And then it's signed David Horn, 1472 Wheaton Lane, North Wales, Pennsylvania, 19454. Okay, so we've gone ahead and like I said, we've read the only public comment that was submitted by somebody who is not a party in this matter. So if you want to go, if the applicant wants to go ahead and present their case, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I-
Oh, and before we do that, I guess we want to go ahead and swear in everybody. Yes. We want to go in and swear in the witness. So Tom, could you give us your full name for the record?
Thomas Mazza.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Who's going to be testifying, actually?
I don't think that's you.
No. Miss Denise Ellison, if you can mute, please, that'll be great. Thank you.
Yeah, if I may interject here, Mr. Mangiardi, and help, just because nobody here is represented by counsel, so let me lay some, I don't want to say ground rules, but at least give you some idea of what the procedure is that happens. So at this point, the matter is turned over to the applicant, in this case, Ms. Cratchy and Mr. Perez, to present their case. Cratchy.
Just call me Megan, it's easier.
Megan and Chris to present their case.
Perfect.
And presenting their case, they can provide testimony. They can provide testimony by themselves. They can provide testimony by any experts. They can enter any exhibits in addition to anything that the board has already submitted into the evidence record. After each witness that testifies, anybody who has party status has a right to ask any questions of the same witness. So if, for example, Megan decides to start by giving her own testimony first, once Megan's testimony is done, then each of the parties who have party status have a right to ask questions of Megan. And to be clear, it is questions, it is not statements, it is just questions at this time. After the parties have had a chance to ask questions, then the board has a right to ask questions of the same witness. And then once they're done with questions, unless the applicant has anything further to kind of follow up on, we move on to the next witness. So Mr. Mangiardi, who's our court reporter or court stenographer, he typically prefers, and we prefer, that when an applicant starts, in this case, Megan, if you can identify for him everybody who's going to testify in your case, he can swear you all in at the same time. And then we don't have to stop and do the swearing in each time. And then, Megan, once you're done with your case and presenting all of the witnesses you want, then we'll go to the other folks who have requested party status for them to present their case if they would like to present a case. But we'll go in the same order that they were granted status, which would be the Baltazars first, then Mr. Geiger and Miss Ellison, and then followed by Miss Walsh.
And can I just ask a quick question?
Certainly.
And since they're party status, I also have the privilege to ask them questions as well, right?
That would be correct. If they testify,
what
you
I
have a
want.
right. You have a right to ask any questions, and to emphasize, only questions,
Yep.
not statements.
Of course.
So, with that said, Megan, can you identify for Mr. Mangiardi who you plan on calling as witnesses for your case?
Yeah, it really would just be me, my husband, our children if necessary. We also have our builder Tom on with us. So our lawyer didn't feel it was necessary to be with us today, but it would just be those individuals.
So perhaps maybe we can have you, your husband, and Tom sworn at this time. No offense to your kids. If you need them, we'll address that. But I think probably between the three of you, you could probably cover everything.
I agree.
If you please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. You do so swear or affirm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And can I have, it's Megan Cratchy, okay, and Chris.
Just call me Megan. Just call me Megan.
I have to have it for the record, I'm sorry. And Tom, can I have your full name?
Thomas Mazza, M-A-Z-Z-A.
Thank you. Okay,
Okay, great. And then go ahead.
So do I get to start?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Megan, it might be helpful to keep in mind, it's your job to explain to the board essentially what you're asking for and why you're entitled to the relief.
That's
And-
exactly how I was going to start off. So I just want to introduce myself real quick. My name is Megan Craich. My husband's name is Christopher Perez. We're small business owners in the local community. We do commercial real estate loans in the majority of Pennsylvania. We've done loans for thousands of real estate investors, so we're very connected to real estate investors in the area. You could go to any real estate investor event. I'm a big networker, and ask them who I am. They all know who I am. So we're small business owners. We're very connected in the area. We're very involved with other small business owners. We were grateful enough to buy this home in November of 2019. I mean, actually, we closed October 2019. We took a month to renovate it before we moved in November 2019. And we love our home. We have continued to make improvements to it to suit our family. We do have 4 children. My oldest son is not here with us tonight. But we just want to say we love our home, we love the development, and obviously the point of this call is about a front entrance. We would like to kind of show you guys our front entrance if that's allowed, but we have no ease of getting into our house at all with 6 of us. You know, our builder did write a letter stating it is a fire hazard, so I do hope the people on this call do take into consideration my family's protection and our well-being. And besides it being a fire hazard, when you have a family of 6 and you have 4 children, and I'm sure there's other people on this call that do have children, I can't tell you, you know, I have no room for book bags, for coats, for shoes, for sports equipment, for instruments. Imagine if you just had 1 child, I have 4. So we don't have a very, very big house inside of our house. I would be more than welcome to show you the landing, the small little landing that the 6 of us get to walk into, where there's no room for anything. I have no coat closet. I have no nothing. So this is just about a mother that wants more space for her children and for what they have and for the ease of my family. Also, the front entrance is a fire hazard, and we have a professional that's licensed stating that. So this is why we want this. Also, that being said, we understand most of the houses in this development are 50 feet from the sidewalk, but that is actually not the case for our neighbors. Our neighbors actually have a front entrance with large pillars right next to us. And they're 226 Hunter Lane. There's several, and I'm not sure if this is, I know this has been put on the website, but I can even go through it if you want. There's several homes in this development. I put together a report of homes with large front entrances that are not, obviously they must have applied for a variance, so you guys just grandfathered it in, something happened. But there's several homes in this development that already have this. Our neighbor behind us, directly behind us, does have a sunroom right in front of our house. Hers is not as large as the one we're applying for, but that being said, her front yard is much smaller than ours. Our front yard is huge, and I'd be more than willing to show it to you through this video camera. You know, everything we've done about our home has just improved our home. Our home is beautiful. I've had several of the neighbors tell us how beautiful our home is. I even went around this weekend to notify our neighbors about this conference call that we're having Tuesday night. You could submit it into evidence. I got 17 neighbors that all signed that they would approve the front entrance. They put their name, their address, and their signature. Now these are married couples, so if it's 17, obviously times that by 2 of how many people approved. So we have overwhelming community support. Our neighbors are very happy for us to have the space that our family needs. They're very happy for us to be in a space where our family is not under threat of a fire. And this is the case we're making tonight.
So, and Megan, if I could just, again, for purposes of making sure the record is entirely clear, because you've made some reference of various documents. First, you made reference to a petition. That's what I believe is marked as ZHB 7 already in the record of the addresses, which you had provided and that was made public.
I wouldn't say it was a petition. It was just going around to see who would support us in our cause. But yes, that is what you're referencing. There's only one document with 2 pages that have neighbors' names, their addresses, and their phone numbers. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you labeled them as, but that is what you're referencing. And all these people can see, the majority of them can see our house from where they live. Yeah. And I even have a map to show you that if you'd like it.
And I apologize, Mr. Chairman, here. I would, if it's possible, I would like to be able to share my screen. Again, I just want to make sure the record is clear and that the board is following what Megan is presenting so that we're all working from the same documents. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know, Megan, if you have screen sharing capabilities, but I'm happy to, because I think the exhibits up, so I can at least make sure that I have the correct ones here.
I definitely have screen sharing abilities, but you would have to allow me that access. But that being said, it's totally up to you. I don't think it's necessary. There's only There's only one document that was submitted that have names, emails, and signatures. There's only 4 documents submitted, so there's not that much confusion.
Well, us lawyers want to make sure that it's
Hey, you know what? Did I not tell you guys I do real estate loans? So believe me, I work with attorneys all day long. Yes, this is exactly what I'm referencing. And as you can see, most of the neighbors have signed an approval of us building this, live right on our street, and they can see our house. Literally, we're right on their sight line. So
Okay.
you can clearly see that from the addresses. And I also do have a map that kind of goes over where everyone is located. That was not submitted because I didn't feel it was necessary because the addresses are clearly stated there. But if you'd like that, I could share that with you.
That is entirely up to you as it's your application. But I just want to make sure I'm going over the documents that you already identified during your testimony. The other document you had testified was about what other properties have around you. And I believe this is the document that I had marked as a board exhibit ZHB 6. This is the written supplement with photographs,
Yep.
which is 9 pages long. Is this the document?
I'll wait till you pull it up, but that should
Can
be
you
it.
can you not see it?
You're still in the signature document.
Oh.
I don't see any documents. Okay.
Give me a second.
Yep. Yes, that's it. We wanted to go around our immediate neighborhood and let the people joining the call tonight know how many of the people have large front entrances in this neighborhood to prove that we are not setting a precedence. This precedence has already been set.
Okay. And again, I am not trying to, other than just clarifying your testimony, you had included or referenced a house that is behind you. Is this the photograph you're talking about?
Yep,
That
that's the house right behind us, 223 Hancock. They have a front entrance, a front sunroom entrance, whatever you want to call it. And you can see their front yard is clearly not as big as ours either.
Okay. And then the last thing, again, just as so the board understands the documents that you're referencing, you talked about the letter from which I assume is Mr. Foti that you're referring to.
Yep, that's our builder.
And
Tom from his company is the one that's on the call with us tonight.
And is this the letter that you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. And so this was previously marked as ZHB 8, along with a copy of the photograph of the proposed sunroom. So I just want to make sure I had a chance to see this letter.
And I was told all this was going to be public information today. So hopefully the parties on the call did do their homework and were able to reference that stuff.
Well, and that's why, just to be safe, I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to see all of these documents that you're referencing that have already been marked.
Understood.
So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to bring up, which I think was the other part of ZHB 8.
It's the example of what it would look like.
And this is what you are requesting relief for in order to construct this
Structure of the house. Yeah, you can see it's just a architectural rendering they do when they come out and show you kind of what it would look like once it's built. It's just a computer simulation. That's obviously all they have. But that would be the exact height and width of it so people can see what we're trying to do. Are we allowed at all to show you our front entrance, to show you at all what we deal with every day?
So you have a right to present whatever you would like to present.
Okay.
It is your case. Because you made reference to various documents that were previously marked, I wanted to make sure the board understood that those documents were all admitted and what those documents actually show.
Thank you for your help.
Not helping, just making sure it's clear on the record.
Understood. So at this time, if the board doesn't mind, we would just like to show you just a little bit of our house and our front entrance and what we deal with and why we want it. I already went over that, but I think video is very powerful. So we're just gonna go show you that real quick.
Nice. This is what it looks
This
like.
is our downstairs living room. We've turned into a movie room.
So this is what it's like going outside of our house, less one child.
Wait. We're still on Megan. So unfortunately, I'm going to ask if Megan's not going to lead the tour, I would need to stop you and we'd have to wait till we get to you as a witness.
Oh, no problem at
Otherwise-
all. Go ahead. You want to show us?
Okay, so I'm gonna show you, which was what I was trying to do anyways.
Thank you.
All right, ready?
Yeah, let me make sure my light's on here. Oh, lights on. All right, so
let's get
this
ready.
is the bottom of our house. Well, we only have a two. It's just a split level. So you walk in, you walk up. My computer is not picking this up very well. We don't wear shoes on our house. Is this light on? Put that light up high. Oh, okay, light bulb burned out. So anyways, as you guys can see, we have a bookcase here where we keep shoes. We have a coat rack here. There are no closets. There's no closets in the walls anywhere. There is nowhere to go, unfortunately. And we're all looking very nice here, but you can imagine when you're trying to sit, like you have to sit on the steps to put on your shoes. I mean, try to open this door. Try to open this door with all of you on there, on this small landing. This is what we go through every day. The door barely even passes the railing here. You guys you didn't even grab your shoes.
Let's put on shoes, guys. Everybody has shoes? Come on.
So it's a big cluster, as you can probably see.
Everybody put on shoes.
It's a big cluster. We can't, you literally have to have one person come in here and go out. One person out, one person out. It just doesn't work for a family of 6.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I am. You guys go through the door. I'm doing my best. I'm sorry. I actually went to school for film, but I'm using my computer here, so it's oh, Jesus. So you have to go all through this door thing here to even get. Go ahead. You have to leave so I can even get out.
So go up and show us coming in.
No, I'm okay. So, anyways, it's ridiculous. You know, it's not safe. It's too small. I need this to not be like this because I have nowhere to put it. There's no closet here. It's a wall. There's no closet there. I have nowhere to put shoes, jackets, coats. I need space for my children. And I need to not obviously be in a fire hazard because obviously you can see this is very difficult to get through. This is the space. They can't even open the door all the way because there's a thing we use for shoes here. So the space between the door and here is like nobody can, no skinny miniature person can get through here. So it's obviously a fire hazard, which is a huge concern to me because my uncle actually passed away in a fire. So I have a fire thing. And it's obviously, it doesn't work for our family. We have, most people when you walk in, you have a closet where you can put a jacket or something. We have no space like that. I have no other option but to build out so we have some type of entrance where we could store some of our stuff, just have those things for our family, again have that security. What I'm going to do here is instead of there being one door, which there's one door here, I'm going to turn it into double doors so that we can go out and we have more space. We can go out into a closed room so we're not getting rained on. Again, we'll have storage for shoes. We'll have storage for shoes. One of our neighbors is walking by asking if we're on this thing. Jackets, instruments, coats, like all that stuff, sports equipment. Like I have no room for anything. So this is just one of the things I wanted to show you guys. This is what's not working. Actually, these neighbors are really, really nice of ours. They have the same problem with their front entrance. They came around and told us that the other day. Don't you hate your front entrance?
And you have one.
Yes, and they have a baby. They can't. They just came around. They read the sign. They said they cannot. The carriage.
Megan, please remember. Megan, please remember these are formal proceedings. So try to stay focused on your testimony.
They were just talking to us. Well, I'm done. That was just it. I just wanted to show you guys it's really difficult getting through our front entrance, and this is why we want to do this for storage and obviously for our family's security.
Okay, and then did you want to ask Tom any questions here as well? Or
Tom wanted to just go,
No.
sorry.
Mr. Chairman, first you should allow the objectors to ask any questions of Megan, and then if any board members has any questions of Megan.
certainly. Okay, yes. So Do any of the other parties have any questions regarding the testimony we've received so far? So Mr. We'll go first. Actually, we'll go first with the Baltazar. Pardon me.
Okay, yes, you're all doing an admirable job of pronouncing Baltazar, so thank you. Well, I have a couple of questions and a couple of observations. First of all, I'll just call you Megan. Is that appropriate? I'm Ruth.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Megan, it does seem that you are quite familiar with real estate. And I guess one question I would have is, when you bought the home, since you are very familiar with real estate, did you consider at that time the structure of the home, which you mentioned is a split level, and it is not a split level, it's a bi-level. So did you consider the construction and your family's needs when you purchased a home?
You know, that's a great question. We were just so happy to be able to own. We've rented for so long that we kind of just jumped at this opportunity when we saw it. We used to live at a townhome down the street. That being said, I wouldn't say I'm familiar with real estate. I did state I do commercial mortgages. I'm not a realtor, so I don't want you to confuse the two. So I'm familiar with commercial mortgages, not residential mortgages, because again, I don't do residential loans. Our realtor did say to us when we went to buy this home, there was no HOA here. So that is a fact. There is no HOA in this development. And I did not think if we were able to afford certain things that we'd want to do to our home, I didn't realize it would be a problem. Now I would like to ask you one question back. What exactly is your address?
No, you don't get to ask questions back of the people asking questions.
Okay.
The Balsars have already identified their address as a part of the record. So they're already been admitted as objectors. If they testify, you have a right to ask them questions, but at this time, they have the right to ask you questions as the witness.
And then I will get to ask questions too, though?
If they present a case and they present themselves as witnesses, yes, you would have a right to ask them questions if they present themselves as witnesses.
Okay.
But they did present themselves as a
as party objectors, and it's up to them whether they want to present a case or not present a case. They could simply say, I want to be a party objector and present no evidence and no witnesses, in which case there would be no questions of anybody from their side.
Okay. All right. And I would also like to point out, Megan, that my husband and I have lived in the home where we are for over 50 years. And we too love our home, and we are happy with the environment of the homes around us. And we are also familiar with trying to be considerate of our neighbors, and our neighbors have always been considerate of us. And I would have to say that we all kind of pay attention to what is desired by the neighbors.
Patrick, if you want to go ahead, I see you want to say something.
Yeah, Ruth, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody. Please focus on just asking questions. You will have time to make statements. I need you to focus on the question.
Okay. Are you familiar, Megan? I don't know how to say this as a question, but I guess my question is, did you, when you stated that all these other homes have front entrances, did you intend to mislead people by not saying that they are exterior entrances, which are not enclosed?
No, because that wouldn't be accurate. A lot of the front entrances are enclosed if you looked at the documents that I submitted.
I'm sorry, I can't think of one. Could you give me an example?
Right in our backyard, and actually someone on this call.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry if I'm not.
Yeah. Megan, you mentioned.
Hold on, let me interject there. If you would like, I will put up the exhibit again.
Yes,
that
please.
you referenced, which does show both open and closed areas, which I think
That-
addresses or answers your question. So you tell me if you want me to put it up or not, but I think that answers your question.
Well, we live right next to that one, so I know, but I know my husband would like to point something out.
Sure.
Yeah, Megan, you mentioned the home right behind you that's having a sunroom in the front, and you are correct on that. You mentioned that their yard is considerably smaller than yours, feet. And they have 48 feet from the front of their sunroom to the curb, not 34 feet like your.
Oh, okay, I'm going to
Proposal.
interject again. Just questions.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying, I'm not saying is you can't say. I'm just saying you can do that during your part of the testimony, but you have to focus on just asking Megan questions. So everything you're saying is more of a statement. It's not a question for Megan to answer with regard to the evidence. It's unfortunately just like you
Did
were in
she
a
measure
courtroom
it?
where you
Okay.
ask questions of the witnesses and then you have a chance to present your own evidence, which can be everything
Okay.
you just described.
Then I guess I would say, Megan, did you get a chance to measure the front yard of the yard right behind you?
No, sir, because I wouldn't trespass on someone's property. But I can
Okay.
tell you your measurements are not accurate from what I can see from the outside the house. Their sunroom does not only come out 2 feet, which is what you stated. That's totally inaccurate. And maybe we can pull up the exhibit to show the picture of it so they can see that.
No, it is his right to ask questions.
I
and you
said,
gave it-
I said 8
Hold
feet.
on. He asked a question, you gave an answer. You don't have a right to ask him questions back, and he doesn't have to respond back to any questions you ask.
Okay.
It's just a question and answer session, back and forth. Everybody has to accept whatever answers are given.
Okay. Could I ask then if the home has a fire hazard, does it meet code?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the board. I wouldn't be able to answer that, but maybe Tom could answer that. I'm not sure.
So do all the, are you saying then that all the homes that are bi-levels are fire hazards?
I'm not saying that because all the homes here are not bi-levels.
No, all the homes that are bi-levels, are all the homes that are bi-levels, are they all fire hazards?
I have not personally been into their homes, so I don't know if they have a larger front entrance because you could have a larger ingress when you walk into someone's home, even if it is a bi-level. But if they have the same situation as we do, then yes, they would have a fire hazard.
Well, then I guess my question would be, are all the homes in the Rexdale development, are all the bi-levels uniform?
Ma'am, I don't know because I've not personally been inside their homes. I don't know how I would know that answer.
Okay. Do you know any other families in the area who have more than 2-3 children who have raised them in a bi-level in Rexdale?
I do not. We live in North Wales. I'm not sure where Rexdale is located, but no, we are new to the neighborhood, so we don't know any of the families here.
This development is Rexdale. Oh, that's a statement. Sorry.
Okay.
I've asked as many as I would like to ask at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, and then I saw another hand raised, I believe, Ms. Ellison and Mr. Geiger also had their hand raised to ask questions as well. All right, go ahead, and just remember, questions, not statements. Oh, you're still on mute.
Who did you ask, Mark? Who did you ask?
Oh,
It's Jack.
Sorry, Ms. Ellison and Mr.
Yeah,
Geiger.
we're ready.
There we go. Okay, you're no longer on mute. Good.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go first, if that's okay. I'm Denise Ellison, Dr. Ellison. My first question, Megan, is how far is the setback currently? How far is your house's setback currently?
I was told by Van that works at the board that it's 50 feet currently. from
Okay.
our door to the sidewalk.
So currently, right now, you have what's legal in the neighborhood.
Current
But
zone.
I would say what is common. But it's not, but that's not everyone's setbacks, as you could probably see from the documentation submitted.
Okay, so the zoning in this area, from what you're aware, is 50 feet and your house is 50 feet as it stands.
Yep, currently. But that's not the average of the community. It's just what I guess how they built the homes, how it started off. But other people have several variances, you know, where that's not the norm.
Okay. So can I ask you, besides an entry, what is the purpose of this sunroom that is quite large? I'm sorry, it's, what is it, 16 by
18.
16 by 18?
It's 16 by 14.
Hmm.
It's for storage, and it's also because our front entrance poses a fire hazard to our family and our safety.
Okay, so I guess I'm asking why it's needs to be so large as opposed to something that's more of an entryway rather than a room.
I'm sorry, you're kind of breaking up a little bit, but 16 feet actually is not that far from our door. It literally will go to the planter out here at the end. It's a security issue, which is what the builders told us. I mean, if we're building an entrance to our house, now you have to think about security, which again, this is all about my family. So I'm gonna need to put a door here because I have a sidewalk that comes here.
This is 16 if you want.
And I'm gonna also have to put a safety door here. So it has to go out as far enough so that this is turning into double doors in the front of a house. I have to be able to put a security door here that locks on this sidewalk because I have two that lead up to my house and that sidewalk. So we needed to extend that far so we can put security doors and secure our family.
You want to go up top so I can march this out?
Okay, so the deck that is on stair detail, this stairs, and then is that a landing?
I'm assuming, you know, I'm not the architect, but these people that are on the phone with us now are very professional. They built thousands of these. You can see they're just, you know, I have steps up to my house, so then it would just go out. You can't,
Right.
yeah, you can't build, like, you have to make it level. It has to be level to build on top of it, obviously.
So I'm just, this stairway is going to go to the driveway?
No, and Tom, why don't I let you take that? No, the stairway would obviously go to the front doors that are gonna lock.
Okay, so there's, it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps.
No, it only has to
No,
be 2.
no, it's only a couple of steps that are
If they
gonna
make
go.
this a landing, if they extend out the
You're not allowed
landing.
to speak.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so as they extend this out, because it has to obviously be level to the house to get into the house, now we're gonna, you know, be a little higher up. The landings to be a little higher up, obviously, because it has to match. It has to match right here, of course. So then, since we're gonna be a little higher up, they're gonna have to create at least a couple stairs to get into the doors that are gonna lock to protect us.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
at this time, I would like to, I think Ms. Ellison was making reference to a document that the board has already admitted as an exhibit. Again, in fairness to the board, and as I did for Megan, I would like to put up on the screen what I believe to be the same document that Ms. Ellison was holding up to the screen so everybody can see the same document.
Yes, that would be good. I was just going ahead looking at it on my side, but it would probably be good for everybody to see it on the screen.
Thank you.
So Ms. Ellison, is this the document you were showing?
Yes, that is correct.
We need a chair. Yeah.
So Tom is on the call with us. He's part of the building company. So if there's any questions you have specifically about the architecture, probably best for him to answer those.
What, I guess we can wait until after we get through the questions here, and then I guess we'll have Tom do his testimony, and then they can go ahead and ask questions.
And I just want to reference for the record, we don't have a deck, just so everyone knows. We don't have a deck at our house. A lot of our neighbors do, including our next door neighbor, but we don't have a deck.
Yes, you do.
Okay, I guess okay. My question is, that particular structure that's with the stairs, that's coming off the front or that's coming off the side door? Or both?
I would need Tom to answer that question because I'm not the architect.
Excuse me, thank you.
Sorry, I can't see who's talking with the person on the screen. Is there, let me just see here. Mark,
Incorrect, Mr. Connolly.
oh, sorry, could you repeat that?
It's been corrected, Mr. Chairman. I believe Ms. Walsh was just muting herself. I think yep, and she's going to remute herself, and I'm going to remute myself. So.
Okay, great, thank you.
So you can get your questions.
So do we have any questions that I
So
can?
I guess my question still stands.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer that without the architect. So Tom is on the call with us. I'm not sure if he's not able to hear us, but as it's been told to me, just to give you some type of answer, is it's just gonna be a platform that comes up that matches with the top stair. And then of course, since we are going to platform out, you know, these stairs here to make them level to the top, obviously you're gonna need to put at least a stair or two on the outside so you can get out the door. That's how it's been explained to me by the architects.
Right, and that doesn't seem to be a very large landing to have your kids on. Could you see that by this design?
I'm not sure of the question, I'm sorry.
So the top is a landing and you still have to open your door to get your kids in.
Yeah, I do. Yes, but that would get us into the structure that provides more space and again, more safety and more room for everything that we need. The point is we
Okay.
need something outside the house. That's the point.
Okay. Were you aware these houses were built in 19 and many people have made modifications?
I'm sorry, you cut out.
Were you aware that these houses were built in 66 and many have front modifications?
I'm sorry, ma'am, you cut out again, but I was aware when our house was built. Of course, our realtor told us, and I am aware that many of our neighbors have made modifications to their house, yes.
Right. About 10 of the houses have a pediment with 2 columns that come down. The majority have done that. There's one house in this neighborhood that's a bi-level.
Is there a question
that has
here?
It's actually a question.
I'm sorry, everything's breaking up. Were you aware that most people have done the modification with the pediment with the 2 columns that come down to cover the doorway?
I was not aware because that is not what our neighbors have done to the left of us, which is 226 Hunter. So I was not aware.
Right, but it's still the front patio that she has. So, and the other thing I guess I just wanted to clarify that the people that are behind you, the sunroom that they have, were you able to get any measurements from them whatsoever?
No, I would not trespass on someone's property. I wouldn't do that.
Well, to ask them. Did you talk to them about their sunroom?
I did not, no. I did take picture of
Okay.
it, which I'm sorry, we talked to her and asked her if we were allowed to take a picture. She said we were allowed to take a picture and I did and submitted that into evidence. But I would never walk on someone's property and try to measure that. That would be incredibly rude.
Understood. I just was asking if you understood what the size was or asked her what her measurements were.
I didn't ask her. I just asked her if I could take a picture. She said yes. I understand there's 2 adults that live in that house. There is not 6 people that live in that house. So whatever her sunroom size is, we need to make it according to our house, which has six people that live in it. Can I answer any more of your questions?
Can I?
Yes,
Sorry, okay.
this is Robert Geiger.
Ms. Walsh, or we will let you ask questions, but we just want to get through. We're just going in order, okay?
This is Robert Geiger. I have a couple questions. You mentioned that it's a fire hazard. I believe the fire hazard is put in there because you have that large cabinet that you're putting your shoes in. So that's something you brought on. Are you aware of that?
No, that's not what our architect stated in his letter that was submitted into evidence.
Is he a registered professional in Pennsylvania?
Yes, he is a registered professional in Pennsylvania. You could look up his company if you'd like.
Is he a registered
I can't hear you,
architect in Pennsylvania?
yes, the building company is.
Maybe you should go in and get closer to your Wi-Fi.
We have Wi-Fi that works out here, so we're okay. But again, this is just about questions pertaining to the
Oh.
front entrance.
Mr. Geiger, I can say just from my perspective that you are cutting in and out a little bit. So,
Okay.
yeah, so it's Zoom. It's going to happen. You know,
Gotcha.
if I'll try. If you know, I would just say if a word cuts out, just say, you know, if it's like the last word, we'll try to point that out to you. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, that's really the only question I had. I'll follow
Yeah.
up with my statement later.
And I would encourage, to answer that question, I would encourage anyone to look up the company that is building our front entrance. They're incredibly reputable. They have built literally over 7,000 sunrooms in the PA, New Jersey area. So these people are the real deal. They know what they're doing.
All right. Well, you need to represent that. You can't have us doing your homework.
Questions, not statements. I just want to.
Yeah, and
All
to
right.
answer that question, that was already submitted into evidence. So their company letterhead's right on the bottom. So this has all been made public since this morning.
It says Jersey.
They do front entrances in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So if you want to look up their company, please go ahead. I'm sure they do front entrances in New York too, but I definitely know they do them in PA and New Jersey. They've done thousands of them.
Are there, Mr. Geiger, do you have any other questions for Megan?
No, I finished with my questions.
Thank you.
I'll save it for my statement.
No, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Ms. Walsh, if you want to go ahead and ask your questions, that would be great.
Well, I guess I have more statements than I do questions. I already know what they want to do and where they want to put it.
So if you have a statement, like I said, once we go through all the testimony, you would be able to put on any case that you have. So
Okay,
at this point, like I said, if you have any questions for Ms. Crakey, is that correct? Or did
It's Krejci. It's long A, long E. Yeah. Yeah, it's long A, long E, and then you got it perfect.
Yeah, okay. So
It's a hard last name.
So once we get through the testimony, then, you know, like I said, if you want to make a statement as part of your case, you certainly can. But do you have any questions for Ms. Krejci?
I was going to ask the same questions that the Baltosers and that Bob had asked about the fact that when you moved in, you knew you had as many children as you do. And you walk in the front door, and I'm sure you all came to see it at that time.
I just wanted, like I said, if you have a question, you know,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I said if you have a question, feel free to ask it. But if you have a statement, we want to wait for that. Okay.
I can wait.
Okay. All right. Great. So then I guess I have some questions as well. We can go ahead here. So I know you mentioned, you know, we've talked a lot about the fire hazard here, but just on that, one, is this the only exterior entrance to the house currently, or are there?
Yes, and that's the problem. This is the only way to get in and out of our house. I mean, Jesus. Yeah, right here. This is the only way to get in and out of our house, and unfortunately, it is just one small door connected with stairs that go up and go down. You can't even see the stairs that go down because my door won't shut. So yes, that is correct.
Okay, so just a couple of other things. Now, when you discuss this with the architect, I know you mentioned that this is one of the solutions, but did they mention any other potential solutions to you that could have remedied some of the safety issues?
No, because the issue is with the front entrance. It's not with any other part of our house.
Okay. Well, I mean, any other ways that they could change the front entrance to potentially remedy the issue?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Just because I don't see a plan or a deed here Do you happen to know what so I saw here that on the application it said 0.45 acres. Do you happen to know what the dimensions of your lot are?
I don't off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
But I can tell you, we are probably 0.45 acres. I mean, we have a huge front yard. We have a huge backyard. So I'm assuming we probably are 0.45 acres. That's what the realtors told me when we bought this house.
Okay. And just for my clarification here, so when we're talking here 16 feet by 14 feet, is the 16 feet, is it, I guess, is it going to come out from the house by 16 feet or out from the house by 14 feet?
It's going to come out 16 feet forward, and then it's going to be 14 feet wide, just like the rendering you have in your evidence.
Okay. So then basically the entire area of this sunroom would be within that 50-foot setback window, correct? So if you're saying, because I believe you mentioned earlier that the house currently goes to the 50, right up to the 50-foot setback, is that correct?
So our front door is currently 50 feet from the sidewalk, which is what Van Ricker informed me of. Now we have, as you can see, we have stairs that take up, so I'm sorry, can you clarify the question so I'm answering it correctly?
Yeah, I just want to make sure. So basically what I'm trying to make sure of is, obviously this is a request for a variance, I believe, of 34 feet in 50. So I just want to clarify, I just want to make sure I understand that, I guess the house currently, I guess, is the house currently at basically the 50-foot setback, or is it any further back from the street than the 50 feet? Do you happen to know?
I don't have a tape measure on me, but Mr. Van Ricker informed me my front door, like where my door is behind me, is 50 feet from the sidewalk. Now, there is a landing already in front of my house, as I'm trying to show you guys. There's already steps and a landing that lead up to my door that go out at least 6 feet. So I want to make sure I'm answering your question correct. So the front entrance would go out 16 feet from this glass door, would go forward. That being said, we would still have what, 30 some odd feet to the sidewalk. So we're not disturbing anybody at all. They still have over 30 feet.
7 feet out, and bushes are, hang on one second.
I mean, we have bushes, we have landscaping, we have a sidewalk here in our side yard.
Steps to the front.
So these things are already here taking up space. We're not adding on to any space that's already taken up. We're just improving over top of it.
Right, and I just want to make sure so that, Mr. Hitchens, could you please put up, I believe it's Exhibit 5, which is the drawing, and I want to look at the stair section. I believe that's part of that.
Certainly. Give me one moment.
I want you to go play. Why don't you guys finish your dinner and go play?
Is this what you're looking for, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so another point that I want to clarify. So I believe you testified already that this staircase is going to come out from the front of the sunroom. Is that correct?
So I don't want to misconstrue any words here, but the front entrance, and can you also pull up a picture of the example that we showed you so I can maybe better explain this with the front entrance on front?
I believe that's Exhibit 8, Mr. Hitchens.
Yes, so this is what we want to build. Now, again, this is just a rendering, like it's obviously not built. So we want to give everyone on the call the best idea of what it's going to look like. Now, you can see my stairs under there that we're sitting on right now, but obviously that's going to be a platform under there. You're not going to build a structure that's flat on like some measly stairs. So, but as you can see, we would technically be in the air. So there do have to be a couple stairs that come out that front door that you can see that's going to open. There's going to be another door on the other sidewalk there. So stairs have to get to that door so we can physically get out the door.
So just I just want to make sure I'm clear with the dimensions here. So when we're talking here, the sunroom extending 16 feet out from the current doorway, does that just include just what we, because I don't see any renderings of stairs here other than just what you already have. So does that 16 feet include just the sunroom portion, or does it also include the new stair platform that that was shown, I guess, with Exhibit 5?
Tom, are you on the call with us right now?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I guess I can, if you think that that's something that you would rather have Tom answer, I can defer that question until
I
later.
would, I'm not an architect, sir, so I would like
Okay.
to have the architects answer that question.
Okay, all right, we'll defer that to later. And I've already asked too many questions, so
No.
let me open it up to my other board members to go ahead and ask some questions.
Be careful, guys. It's dark.
Yeah, I don't want them riding their bikes right now.
Hey, guys, it's getting too dark. Come on, wrap it up. Bring it in. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, we got a bunch of kids, so.
Sorry, I was on mute. So does anybody on the board have any questions? Okay, Ms. McHale, if you can go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Connolly. I have a question of Megan, and that is there a reason?
You're on mute, Bobby.
Sorry. Okay. Is there a reason why you picked an all-glass sunroom rather than a structure that would match the brick and siding of your house and look less like something added on as opposed to something that belonged on?
That's a great question. You know, when the architects came out and stuff, they just presented me with different options that were all sunrooms, and they had a beautiful handbook and flyers. So I just, honestly, I didn't give it too much thought. I just kind of went with that. I also do like the idea of being able to see through the room in case there's something going on in the street, an ambulance or something like that. I do like to be able to see through it. I mean, we recently just had a shooting down the street, November of last year. A 30-year-old woman was murdered, and there was a lot of police in the development. So I would prefer to see out of it, just, you know, so I can understand what's going on in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Mr. Ferguson, do you have any? Oh, sorry, go. If you, sorry.
Mr. Connolly, I'm sorry, I have one more question. Does your house not have a side or a back door?
We don't have any side back doors. No, we do have one back door that leads to our backyard. But
It's
again,
a slider. It doesn't have a
it's
key.
a slider. It's like you slide it to get into the backyards. But that backyard doesn't help us because we have a problem with our front entrance. We don't have a problem with the back.
Thank you.
And to add on top of that, I want to do a second level deck like many of my neighbors do. So I can't put a sunroom out there because I'm going to do a deck as well. So, and again, that doesn't help my front entrance, which is the problem. So.
So sorry, I do want to just interject here because I know one of the questions I previously had here is whether there was another external entrance, and you had answered in the negative, but just now you said that there's a slider to the backyard. So do you want to amend your answer to the previous question about whether there's another external entrance?
No, sir, you asked me, is this the only front entrance to our house? And I said, yes, this is the only front entrance. You didn't ask me if there was another exit to my house. But yes, to clarify, yes, we do have a slider that goes into our backyard in the back of the house. But it's not a locked door. You can lock it on the inside, but there's no key lock or anything to it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ferguson, do you have any questions? You're on mute.
Guys, put up the bikes.
I'm glad we got the clarification on the entrance to the back of the house, whether it's a slider or it's a door that opens and closes back and forth. There is another entrance. There is another exit. Is that correct or incorrect?
It is, but it's not an exit where I can leave my.
No, I said, is it correct? In
Yes.
the event of a fire, because you keep going back to safety and security,
Yes.
can you get out that door?
Yes.
Can you come in that door and can you go out that door?
Yes, we can.
So there are actually two entrances, just what Mark had asked you to clarify that there are two entrances, not one. Is that correct or not correct?
There are two ways to get in and out of the house. I thought he was asking me if we
That's
had
it.
another front entrance, which we only have one.
No, because Mark had asked you originally, are there other entrances or exits? And you said, no, you only have the front door where you're sitting right now. So now we know there are two. If I'm in the back of your house, I could get in your house and you could come out and see me, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I want to know there. You refer to your addition, if you will, as an entrance. Is that correct?
Yes, because it's going to be on the front of the house.
And that's 224 square feet, 16 by 14. Is that correct?
I don't have a calculator on me, but it's going to be 16 feet.
Well, I just did the math. 16 by 14 is 224 square feet. And it's glass. And you were concerned, you're referring to as an entrance with storage, but it's glass. Okay, I just wanted to understand. I just wanted to understand that. Okay, and then I believe somewhere along the line you had said that you have when you the staircase I wouldn't even call this a staircase. I would call it, and it's a question. Why does the drawing show 7 steps or stair steps in the drawing when it would be only if you're dropping X amount of feet and you only need 2 or 3 steps? Why does that look like it's going to be 7 steps steep? That's what your drawing shows, because I just counted them.
Mr. Ferguson, if I could, Megan, if I could interject there, that question might be better directed to Tom.
Yeah.
Because I
Okay,
think
I'll hold
Megan
off
has.
because I'm trying to understand what you're trying to do, and I'm at a loss for these pictures. Some of it doesn't make sense, so I think you need your builder to address that.
He's
Okay,
on the call with us, sir, so that's why we had him join. So
okay,
Tom, can
cool.
you answer
All
that?
right, I have no more questions.
Yeah.
Well, wait, Tom needs to answer your question though. So
No, Tom will have a chance to
yet.
answer any questions when he's called as a witness. At the moment, we're finishing up with you as the witness.
okay, sorry.
I do have one question. Can I ask?
Sorry, I can't see who. Can we let Ms. Walsh ask your question at this point, or do you want to?
Can you let Ms. Moody, who is a board member, ask any questions first?
Yeah.
I will tell you, Mr. Chairman, I have no questions.
Okay.
So,
Yes, Ms. Moody, do you have any questions at this moment?
Thank you, Mr. Connolly. I do not have any questions for Megan at this time.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Walsh, if you want to go ahead and ask your question, go ahead.
The laundry room door, does that no longer work in your home?
We don't have it so that it can go to the outside. No, it does not.
You boarded it up or?
We did because it's the door is not working properly, so we boarded it up so that you cannot get through it anymore.
We just locked it. It's not boarded up. It's not boarded. It's locked.
So
it's not a door that you can come and go in our house.
We have a security bar. We have security systems on it. It's a weakness of the house because it's an old door.
Yeah,
It's
the
not
door
boarded
is
up.
old. You cannot come and go through it.
So wouldn't it have just been a lot easier or a lot less expensive to repair or replace that door?
So I just want to get back to the point of this call, which is this is about a front entrance. None of you on this call leave your house through the back of your home. None of you do that.
Excuse me, we do every single day.
Well, I see you come and go through your front door a lot. So,
I'm going to interject here. And again, I think the question was, had you considered doing the renovation work at the side door that you've identified as being inoperable, or whatever you've identified as being inoperable? Have you considered doing any side work there rather than the front entrance? That's the only question.
Please let me comment,
Right.
please. It's not a side door, sir. It's a door in the back of our house that's off of our laundry room. It doesn't work. So we have basically made sure it cannot open anymore with security devices. No, we have not considered that because we don't leave our house through our backyard, which has a large fence that no one can get through. We don't leave our house like that. We, like most people, would like to leave our house through our front door, not through our backyard where there's a large gated fence where I have to take off 5 different security devices to get through. I would just like to go through my front door.
Okay, got it. That was the answer to your question, Ms. Walsh.
Ms. Walsh, do you have any further questions for Okay, great, thank you. All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and move on to Ms. Creasy, if you want to ask any questions of your architect, go ahead.
Yeah, Tom, it seems like someone had a question about the steps. I'm a little confused about the steps too, because there doesn't need to be 7 steps. So could you just elaborate on that?
Sure. That picture is the drawing has a line through the middle of it, and basically it's it could be any amount of steps, and that's what that line means. The clear line going through there. In your case, we're going to have a landing that's going to be approximately 3 feet coming off of the door and then 2 steps down.
Okay, that's the only question I really had for Tom. Did anyone have any other questions for Tom?
So why don't we go, can Mr. Hitchens, can you take the exhibit off the screen? That way I can see everybody. Okay. All right. So to the Baltozers, do you have any questions for the witness? Can you go off mute and say that for the records, because they can't transcribe someone saying something on mute.
I do not have any further questions.
And I do not.
Okay, great, thank you. And then and now it hid the last name. To Ms. Ellison and Mr. Geiger, do you have any questions for the witness?
Yes, we have several questions. Do you have any?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, this space, you know, this whole thing is about a setback. How come we don't see any site plans that show this being laid out on the building on a site plan with the setbacks identified?
There should be a survey. There should be a survey.
We have one, but I don't know if, Tom, if you guys ever sent that to me, so I didn't have the opportunity to submit that as evidence. Actually, no, I'm sorry. There is no survey. The reason there's not a survey is because Mr. Van Ricker told me one was not necessary. So I don't believe we actually got one. And that would be, you know, part of the zoning.
Well, your zoning is for a setback. And a setback is a site requirement.
The board would have to answer that for you, sir. That's what they required.
I'll interject here.
Okay.
You've asked the question. She's given an answer that she hasn't submitted one. I think your question has been answered. Well, move on to the next question, please.
All right. Next question is there any electrical and or is there any mechanical systems for heating or air conditioning plan for this space?
No.
Yes, well, this is a 4-season sunroom, and if my memory serves me correct, we have a minor amount of electrical outlets on the inside per code.
Yeah.
A fan hookup, and 2 light fixtures.
Okay, but it will not be conditioned.
It is the 4-season sunroom, and she has the option to put a mini split system in there that will do air conditioning and heat. But as of now, we are not doing that.
I didn't want to spend the extra money on that, so no.
Okay, because you're putting this on the north side of your house, and it's a sunroom. It's not going to get any sun.
If we could just
that was why.
There's a fan that's gonna be in there, so we will be getting air. There's a fan.
Yeah, so if we could just stick to questions at this point, like I said, if you have any statements, we can do those once we move on to your portion. Okay.
Okay. All right. Oh, wait.
Is there a side view rendering? There was a front view. Is there a side view?
No, not a rendering. I do have engineered drawings of what the sides are going to look like, but not a rendering of the side view up against a picture of the house. Yes, there we go. Exactly. So the left and the right side are above, and then the bottom picture is looking at it from the street.
Okay.
Right, I'm sorry. I just was asking to see if there was a side view that we could see what it would look like as you look down the street.
He already
That's all
testified, I believe he already testified he does not, just only what was just put up on the screen.
And
Okay.
just don't speak
All right.
with the architect.
No further questions from us.
No, I had muted it.
Okay, great, thank you. Ms. Walsh, do you have any questions for the witness?
I do have one question. How close is this going to be to the parking pad that you added onto the driveway? It sounds like 16 feet may come right to that parking pad.
Tom is the one that's actually doing the questioning, but you know, this call is actually not about our driveway. It's about the front entrance.
Megan, hold on, Megan. Ms. Walsh asked a question of your Tom. Tom has to answer the question. He may know the answer, he may not know the answer. I don't know, but I need you to not interject and answer for him. I need Tom to answer the question.
Yeah, the question was directed at me, which is the only reason.
No, Megan, the question was directed to Tom. Ms. Walsh directed the question to Tom. So Tom needs to answer the question.
I'd like to defer that question to Megan because Megan is more prepared to give that answer as far as the footage.
So Tom, do you not know the answer to that question?
I do not know.
Okay, that's your answer, Ms. Walsh.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions, Ms. Walsh?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I just want to come back to one of the questions I had in the previous section. So Mr. Hitchens, again, if you could pull up, I believe is Exhibit 5, and that's the schematic of the stairs. Okay, and I apologize. Is it Mr. Mazza? I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Mazza, is it your understanding? So you know, the sunroom was described to us as being 16 feet by 14 feet. Now, is it your understanding that the 16 feet portion, that's the portion basically that's coming out from the house? Now, is it your understanding that that 16 feet includes or does not include this stair detail?
It does not include that.
Okay. Now, do you happen to know how far out in addition from the house the stairs would potentially go?
Approximately 5 feet.
Okay. So, all right. So basically we're talking
almost exactly what she has coming off the house now.
Okay. But I guess when you say almost exactly what they have from the house now, you mean basically if you move those stairs 16 feet closer to the curb, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Let me just see here if I have any other questions with regard to, okay, so with the sunroom. Okay, I think everything else. Okay, I think that is well, actually, let me ask one other question. How wide is the staircase that is planned coming out of here going to be?
Well, it would be at code, so it would be 42 inches on the inside rail to rail.
Okay, so and then is this stairway then, is it going to be the same width that the current staircase is?
I believe it'll be a little bit smaller.
Okay, so you're saying that the current staircase, you believe it's going to be slightly, you're going to be reducing the width, not increasing the width, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I don't have any more questions at this time, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up for my other board members. Does anybody else have any questions here? Ms. McHale?
Mr. Mazza, question for you back to that drawing again. The landing part of it at the top, how much space is there from where the door opens to the edge of that landing? So in other words, when the door is open, is there more space between the door and the first step? Or does the door hang over the first step? How is that going to work?
The door is going to open into the room from outside. So the
Ah.
door will not come out into the landing.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Can I just notate something at all?
No, not yet. Until we're done with Mr. Mazza testifying, then you can have a chance to redirect Mazza or ask any further questions of Mr. Mazza to make any clarifications.
Okay.
Ms. McHale, do you have any further questions?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ferguson, do you have any questions here?
I'm just going to ask one of Tom. Tom, if I take the 16 feet of the room coming from the house into the front yard, and then I put another 5 feet on it for the steps that you indicated, is that correct? That takes us to 21 total. So then if it's a 50-foot variance from the house originally, we're now down to 29 feet to the end of the yard, if you will. Am I correct?
From the end of the steps, yes, but not from the end
From
of the
the end of the
building.
steps, right. And those steps will have railings on that 42-inch width, right? There'll be a rail down each side of them. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'm just trying to visualize it because I'm looking at the drawing, and the drawing indicates that, but I don't necessarily know if I'm reading that right. Okay, that's all I want to know. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Moody, do you have any questions here?
Yes, I just have a couple for Tom. Tom, can you clarify where there was 2 entrances off of the sunroom, correct? One off the front and one off the side?
Yes,
Does the second entrance, the side entrance, also have the same staircase plan?
yes.
Thank you. That's the only questions I have.
Thank you. Mr. Hitchens, do you have any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Krejci, I guess, as Mr. Hitchens stated, do you have any further things for Mr. Mazza at this point?
Yeah, I just wanted to I mean, I already know the answer, so I'm assuming I have to phrase it as a question to him, right?
Correct.
Okay. So Mr. Mazza, I know you did state that the doors are going to open inside when you're in the front entrance / sunroom, whatever we're calling it legally. But can you state the way the front doors in the front of my house that have become double doors are going to now open?
Yes. The new doors on the house are going to be changed from a single door to a double French style door, and they're going to open up into the sunroom.
Mm-hmm.
And basically by doing that, you eliminate the congestion on the stairs coming up from downstairs. So if there's a fire at the downstairs door, those doors open into the sunroom. So someone coming down the steps from upstairs won't be able to block the people coming up.
And would that, Mr. Mazza, would that also be the same for someone coming up the steps of my house to go out into the sunroom?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to notate that because it's important. Also, just a general question. Can you just give us a brief, and I know this is supposed to be a question, but I would love you somehow to submit some type of bio. Can I ask, how long have you been in this profession?
20 years.
Can I ask him for a bio, or is that not a question?
I mean, you can ask him questions about his biography. I mean, that's certainly appropriate.
Yeah. So Tom, it might be just appropriate. Can you just give a brief explanation to the board what your experience is? You know, you said you've been doing this for 20 years. I don't know what this is that you're referring to.
Yeah.
So if you could just briefly explain your experience to the board.
Sure. I'm a project manager for Sunrooms America. I've been doing it for a while. They're not the first. I've only been with sunrooms for approximately 1 year, but I've worked with Four Seasons for many years before this. We've built thousands of these rooms on thousands of houses.
And what exactly is the relationship between Four Seasons and Sunrooms America?
Just a competitor.
Okay, because you were referring to the structure, I believe, is Four Seasons, unless I'm mistaken. So
No, that was, well, that's a Four Seasons sunroom, and that's all about the insulation.
and can you explain what that means? I just want to get a little bit more clarity.
So a Four Seasons sunroom, you're able to put a heater in there and have the same R value as your home.
Okay. Okay. Do you feel the structure that we're building in front of our house is structurally unsafe or going to endanger the neighborhood in any way?
No, and I think that building this structure will help congestion in case there is a fire in your house, and that's mainly having the doors open, and then be able to exit the house from two exits from that vestibule. Also, because you have two doors opening to the inside of this room, means that you have now hinges on the outside, which normally you wouldn't have that on the exterior of the house. And that's why another reason why you would need this vestibule with a door that opens in to where it does not expose the hinges. So someone can't just pop the hinges and then walk in your house.
So do you feel building this entrance on the front of our house provides us more safety?
Yes.
Can you just briefly explain, I want to form this as a question, but the materials using to build this structure, are they structurally sound? Are they top notch? Can you give us some background on what we're using here so our neighbors understand what we're using to build the structure?
Yes, this is a top of the line product manufactured by Timo Engineering in Michigan. One thing good about this is that we can match the siding of your house around the bottom of it, which we are going to do. So the siding will be on the bottom of it. We're going to match the roof shingles also. So it's going to blend into your house.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
That's really all I have.
Okay, so we can make it to match the house if that's anyone's concern, which you answered yes. Apparently this is a top of the notch line product. It's going to provide us with more security, safety, you've already stated. It's going to make it easier for us to get in and out, and since the doors are opening out into the sunroom, it will prevent that fire hazard. That is really all the questions I wanted from you, to clarify on. So thank you, Tom, for your time.
You're welcome.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one more question.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Can I ask one more
How
question?
much does it cost?
Tom, do you think by adding this front entrance onto our house, it will improve our property value?
Yes, absolutely.
What's it cost?
Can I ask you what the front entrance is going to cost?
Retail.
Retail.
Of your room,
Yes.
48,900.
That's not the retail price. That's not what you guys are billing me. But anyways, looks like that's a little discount. We're being billed 70,000 for it, just so you know. So I want to ask you one more question. Do you feel like putting this front entrance with all the stuff that it's going to improve us for our family, do you think it would also improve the neighborhood's values?
Yes, I believe that. And you'll start to match other people who are doing similar things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's it. No further questions.
Thank you. So Mr. Hitchens, I see that some of the other parties have further questions. I guess at this point, can we allow them to ask, or is it basically at this point, unfortunately, that time has passed?
I would just, out of fundamental fairness of everybody, that they could, as long as it's limited only to the additional testimony that Tom gave, meaning we're not going back over things that people had an opportunity to ask questions about. So it's limited to the scope of the additional questions that the applicant had proposed. And I would encourage everybody, it is now 8:48 and we're still on the very first case. And so I would encourage you to be very precise in your questions so we can move this along.
Mr. and Mrs. Baltoser, if you have a question, go ahead.
Tom, is this considered a prefab?
Yes, it is. Now we don't get all the parts and then just put it together like a erector set. There are cutting involved. We have these pre-manufactured panels. We cut them to fit the current location, the roof pitch, all of it.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ellison and Mr. Geiger, do you have any questions here?
No question, Tom.
Thank you. Ms. Walsh, do you have any additional questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you. And does anybody else have any questions here? I just want to check. Anyone on the board? Mr. Hitchens, anybody? Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so I think we're good. All right, so moving along, I guess, just give me 1 second here. This thing is probably not going to pull it up anyway. I guess we can go ahead then and move on to any testimony that Mr. and Mrs. Baltoser have. And I guess it looks like, I believe that they have not been sworn in yet. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, oh, go ahead, Mr. Hitchens.
And I was going to suggest, Megan, just to confirm, do you have any other witnesses you would like to present on behalf of your case?
No.
Okay. So at this time, the applicant's case is finished. Megan, I'd ask you to mute your microphone just as I'm going to mute mine. And then I guess we can have the Baltosers both sworn in by Mr. Mangiardi.
Yeah, so you go ahead and unmute. It looks like you're still muted. Okay. Oh, no, try again. There we go.
Please raise your right hand.
Raise your right hand.
Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I guess I would just like to point out that restrictions in a community are made for a reason, and I would suppose Upper Gwynedd had good reasoning when they proposed the 50-foot setback. So this is a major variance that's being requested, and I'm concerned that you know, you choose your home knowing what the restrictions are, and you agree to keep a certain environment, that you purchase a place in that area for a reason. And so I guess I would just like the board to consider that these restrictions are in place. Upper Gwynedd put them in place, and there's quite a big difference between 50 feet and 29. So that's all I wanted to point out.
And the only thing that I have is Megan has mentioned the property directly behind them is having a sunroom as well. That sunroom has 48 from the exterior wall to the curb is 48 feet, not the 29 feet that we would be dealing with in this situation. So I would highly recommend that this be rejected. Thank you.
Ms. Krejci, do you have any questions for the Baltosers based on what based on their testimony?
Yes, I do have questions for them. Now, I know that they live on Hancock Road. That's a question.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so you cannot see my house from your home, right? You cannot see the front of my house from your home, right?
Correct.
That's correct.
So what would us adding a front entrance do to your peripheral vision of the front of my house? How would that be in any way affecting your lifestyle?
It would not affect our lifestyle, but I think it will affect the continuity of the neighborhood. And for that reason, I would be rejecting it.
Okay, but your home does face the front of Hancock Road, right?
Correct.
So you actually do not, your phone does not face the front of Hunter Lane, right?
Correct.
Okay. Do you feel that us putting a front entrance onto our house would provide better security space for our family?
I question it.
Yeah, I question that too. And I wanted to point out that when the sunroom was put on the home next to us, there were 4 people living in that home at that time. And that always seemed quite adequate. That room coming out 8 feet.
So then they would be technically 42 feet from the line because your husband stated 48.
No, he measured 48.
From the front wall of their room, it's 48 feet to the curb.
Well, if their sunroom goes out 8 feet, I don't see how the math is adding up. Can you explain that to me?
I'm assuming that their house is further than 50 feet back.
No, it's not. It's not. You can tell clearly by looking at it. It's not. And there's pictures that we've submitted of that. Their front yard's not even as big as our front yard.
Okay, I'm gonna interject here, and I'm gonna say the same thing, Megan, that I said to the other, to I think it was Greg. You can't argue with the answer that you got. You asked a question, you got an answer. I understand you disagree with the answer, but we all have to accept the answers that folks give to the questions, whether you agree with them or you don't agree with them.
Okay. Can I just ask one more question?
Certainly.
Okay. Do you feel by us adding a front entrance, it would improve our home value?
I have no idea. And a front entrance, there are various kinds of front entrances. So I do not know.
I would question whether it would increase your value 70,000.
Okay. Well, thank you for your response.
Okay, thank you.
I have no further questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. Ms. Ellison and Mr. Geiger, do you have any questions for the Baltosers?
I do not have any questions for the Baltosers. Thank you.
No.
Okay, great. Thank you. Ms. Walsh, do you have any questions for the Baltosers?
No, I don't.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, okay, so I do have one question just because I believe that your house was used as one of the examples in the exhibits, and let me come back here. I believe it is, I apologize, Mr. Hitchens, is it exhibit 6? Exhibit CHB 6?
You're referring to the written addendum with the photographs?
Yes, yes. If we could pull open that addendum.
Their house was not used as an example, just so you know.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
Their house was one that wrote in a letter to complain, but I did not use their house as an example of the other front entrances in the neighborhood.
Thank you. Okay, so I just want to say, so you mentioned that you have a sunroom as well in the front of you do not? Okay. My apologies.
Our neighbor.
Okay. All right. So my apologies. Then that is not a question that is aimed towards you. All right. Does anybody else have any questions for the Baltosers? Anyone? Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Ellison and Mr. Geiger, you can go ahead and present your case.
If we could have them sworn first by Mr. Mangiardi.
Yes, I apologize.
Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about the given in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You do so swear or affirm.
I do.
We do.
Thank you.
Okay, now you can go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, it's Denise speaking. I just want to comment that I'm opposed to this, and not because of, the ability of security or getting the kids in the house properly. I'm opposed to the size of this room that's being in front of the house. I think it'll affect the rest of the neighborhood. I know that we're being told that there are homes that have this. I have lived in this neighborhood since 1994. There are no other homes that have anything other than a pediment that's in front of the house with a patio extension that maybe goes out 8 feet. There is the one sunroom house, that is all. So I think that this would be significantly different than what the rest of the neighborhood has. I'm concerned that it is 29 feet now, which I realized in the beginning that it was only going to be 34 feet. And I do know that there is at least 3 doors on the house that can be used. The other thing is that concerns is the driveway is significantly large, and it was extended into a parking lot when they were moved in. And I believe that the stairway is going to wind up being close to that parking lot. There's been a huge footprint of impervious structures that have been put all around the home, in the front, in the back, the driveway. There's very little green grass that's left. And that's concerning to me as a neighbor.
You done?
I am done.
All right, I agree with my wife's concerns. My problem is I'm an architectural designer in trade, and I feel that this addition is out of scale with the house. It's out of scale, it's out of style with the house, and it's going to look too commercial. It's too large. If they needed space to get in, I don't think it needed to be this big. And there's things they could do in that house to increase storage. They could also use their garage entrance and put an entrance through their garage to get into that house as well, if they were concerned with weather and things like that. I also, the whole fire hazard argument, I think, is they brought on themselves by putting that large storage shelving unit in the way that blocks the door that swings in. And I'm disappointed in the presentation that there was no site plan that showed how this was going to look on the plan, especially if this is a zoning issue and a zoning setback issue. And that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gracie, do you have any questions for Ms. Ellison and Mr. Geiger?
No.
You're asking me, right? Mark, you're on mute, but I think you're asking me if I have any questions for them?
Yes, I am. Yes. Do you have any questions?
Not Judy, right?
Correct. Not. Yeah. I'm asking you, do you have any questions for Ms. Ellison or Mr. Geiger?
I do.
Okay.
I want to ask them, now I see there's these big stone pillars at the end of your yard. Were they permitted to put there?
That's a good question. I've been here since '94, and those pillars were there when I bought the house.
So when you moved in, you don't know if they're actually approved or not?
I have no idea they were there when I bought it.
So you don't know if they're approved?
I have no idea.
Okay, so that's a no.
Yeah, I think she answered that question.
Do you feel about us putting a front entrance on our house that it would limit your use of the sidewalk at all in the neighborhood?
No.
Do you feel the front entrance would pose any danger to you walking down the sidewalk at all?
No.
Okay. That's really all the questions I have. I just want to make sure it's not a security issue for them.
Okay, thank you. So, do the Baltozers have any questions for Ms. Ellison or Mr. Geiger? If you could go, go off of mute. Oh, I will just say for the record that I saw them.
No.
I saw them say no, but not with sound.
We have no questions.
No question.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Walsh, do you have any questions for Ms. Ellison or Mr. Geiger?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Do any members of the board or Mr. Hitchens have any questions for Ms. Ellison or Mr. Geiger? Okay, I do not see anything. All right, so, all right, thank you, Ms. Ellison and Mr. Geiger. Ms. Walsh, if you want to go ahead and submit your case once we have you sworn in.
Okay, so I
Wait,
live.
Yeah, we do have to get you sworn in first.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You do so swear or affirm.
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I live directly next door to the couple, and yes, we do use our front door sometimes. We've lived there for probably about 25 years, had a child, had no problems getting in and out of the house. We don't have any furniture there purposely for that reason. It is a small entryway. My house does have the 4 pillars that you spoke about. That was there when we moved in, but that is not an enclosed area like what you're proposing. I agree with Denise that the footprint is shrinking on your house, or I'm sorry, expanding on your house. There is no green grass. And I'm worried when I look out my front door and try to look down the street, I will not be able to see anywhere beyond that new entry that you want to put up. I know you say it's glass, but I'm not going to be able to see anything. I bought my home because it's a beautiful neighborhood with trees and grass and flowers and space between homes, you know, and it's getting enclosed. I'm sorry, I have to really, really object to this.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Crazy, do you have any questions for Ms. Walsh?
Yes, Mrs. Walsh, when you moved into your house, you say the pillars are already there, which pretty much extend at least 6 feet out from your house, but were they permitted?
I don't know.
Seems like a lot of people
I'm
in this
sure
world
they were.
about permits. So can I just state, when you did move into your house, you did not check the permitting of that structure?
My house was built, like Denise said, in the early 60s. So I imagine all the permits, had they not been all approved, I'm sure it would have come up.
But you purposely, I just
No.
made no answer, did not check the status of the permit on that front
No,
entrance?
I did not.
Okay, okay.
Did you get a permit to make your driveway? I'm just
I
curious.
did actually, and
Hold on, I'm interjecting again. The witness cannot question the person asking the questions. So
Okay.
it's just Ms. Creechy will ask you a question and then you answer the question and she asks the next question. So it's not a dialogue in that respect.
Okay.
Mrs. Walsh, do you feel by us putting a front entrance on the front of our house, it will negatively impact you from using the sidewalk in the neighborhood at all?
No.
Do you feel that us putting a front entrance on our house is going to negatively hurt your security at all in the neighborhood?
It's not going to hurt my security, but I'm sure it will hurt my the price of my home.
Actually, I'm going to state this in a question. Do you feel if people improve their property next to you, do you feel it makes your home value go up or down?
I do, but I don't feel that this is an improvement at all.
I just need a yes or no answer, ma'am.
Uh,
If I improve my property, is your value going to go up?
I can't answer that question because you're not improving your home. I don't feel you're improving your home, so I can't. If my neighbor does improve their home, then yes, I do think it increases value.
Okay, we are improving our home, just so you know. But okay, that being said, it doesn't seem like this is going to pose a security threat or anything. Can you confirm yes or no for me? Did you mention that the front entrance of your house is small?
Yes, I agree, but I never thought of it as being a fire hazard or anything like that. Now, Mr. Horn, who wrote that letter in the beginning, he raised 5 children across the street in the same exact home. Never had a problem. 5 children.
Yeah, their home's not laid out the way ours is, but
Yes, it is. It's a bi-level. It's the exact same house. They're not living in that home right now, but it's the house directly across the street from you.
yeah, I know the neighbor across the street, but anyways, we're just doing questions. Pretty much that is the only questions, honestly, I have for you. I do want to ask you though one question. Do you prefer to leave your house through your front door, or do you prefer to leave your house through your back door? Where you have to go through the fence?
I leave my house from my back door because it's closer to my driveway. It can be 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Okay. Now, knowing that your fence, we had a problem with your fence, is it easier for you to leave your backyard through your fence, knowing your fence door doesn't really work that well?
The fence that I use by my driveway works perfectly fine.
Were you asked by a police officer? Were you asked by a police officer to fix that fence?
It was repaired before that. It was repaired right after we had the issue.
So a police officer did come to the home to ask you to fix
Yeah,
the fence.
hold on. I think we're getting far afield here. We're here for the application for your property for a proposed sunroom structure on the front for a variance. I understand that there might be some concerns between these two parties relating to a fence issue. Unless you can explain to me how that is related to your sunroom, I think that these are questions I'm going to direct that this is out of order to kind of go down a route about anything having to do with a fence or whatnot. So unless you could explain to me how it is relevant to your sunroom, I'm going to not allow you to continue down that road of questioning. Go ahead, Ms. Grady.
Judy said that she preferred to leave her house 50-50 through her backyard, through her fence. So I was just trying to inquire why that was.
And she gave an answer, which is that was her preference. And again, we all have to live with the answers that people give.
Understood. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Baltoser, do you have any questions for and I see that they are visually signaling that they have no questions. Ms. Ellison and Mr. Geiger, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a few. I'll try and make them brief.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I know who it's for. Okay, I'm sorry. Judy and Mr. and Mrs. Walsh, were any of these improvements to the house discussed with you, but prior to them being done at Megan's house?
No.
Just like a friendly neighborhood discussion, like these are the things we'd like to do?
No. No.
Do you remember the fire that happened across the street at 221?
I do. Never forget that.
Do you remember Mrs. Daly and being in a wheelchair at the time and getting out the front door?
Yes, I do.
With her son?
I will never forget it.
And the name?
Yep.
Okay. No further questions.
I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I just have one question here. Just based on, so I'm looking at, I guess this is the exhibit 9, which is the letter. I don't know if you want to pull the letter up, Mr. Hitchens, or just because I want to make sure that I'm clear on something here.
Is this the letter you're referring to, Mr. Carter?
No, I was referring to the letter that Ms. Walsh submitted.
One moment, please.
Oh, my God.
Is this what you're referring to, Mr. Connolly, which was marked as?
I believe it's part of Exhibit 9, correct? Is it ZHB 9?
That is correct, ZHB 9.
Okay, so I just want to read a portion of this. So, the portion I'm going to go is, it seems that they are turning the front of their home into a commercial property with additional parking. Is this to be their quote waiting room, end quote? So Ms. Walsh, I just want to clarify here. Have you seen any evidence of this, or is this just a speculation as to with regard to any potential commercial uses here?
It's a speculation. I haven't seen any signage or anything like that. It just is what it's going to look like.
Okay, that is all I have. Although I do want to clarify with Mr. Reeker, because I know that there's been some discussion here between whether this is going to be a 34-foot variance or a 29-foot variance. Mr. Reeker, would the stairs coming out from the front of the sunroom, would that also have to be incorporated into any variance?
No, it would not. Uncovered porches and steps and stairs are exempt from having to comply with the requisite front and side yards.
Okay. I had one other question, because I know that there have been a couple of mentions of impervious surface, and just my cursory review of the ordinance, I didn't see anything under R2, but are there any impervious surface requirements in R2?
There are not. There's a building coverage limitation, but not an impervious surface limitation.
Okay, so and then the building that 20% building coverage, I assume that would include the sunroom, but it wouldn't include, and it would include the house, but it wouldn't include anything else, correct? I just want to make
It
sure
would
I
include the
understand
house and any covered structure such as a shed or a detached garage.
I just want to make sure I'm clear as to what the ordinance has here, just so that, going forward as we're discussing this, make it clear that, we're still talking about 50 by 34 and not a 50 by 29, sorry, not 50 by 24, that we're not going from 50 to 29, we're going from 50 to 34 here potentially. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions here? Anybody? Oh, Ms. Moody, no. Do you have no? Okay. Anybody have any questions? Well, you already asked your questions, so all right. So at this point, do you have anything else to add, Ms. Walsh?
No, I don't.
Okay.
You had mentioned that you don't have a deck, but I thought there is a pretty large deck out back, isn't there?
Hold on. There's Miss Krejci is not a witness right now, so there are no questions. It's not a free for all to ask, so
yeah.
If you're done with as a witness, okay.
All right. Well, thank you. So I guess we've gone through all of the parties at this point. So I guess at this point, do we want to go into executive? Oh, Mr. Hitchens, go ahead.
You need to take public comment if there is anybody else. And additionally, we should ask Mr. Van Reeker if there's been any other further public comment that has been received by the township prior to tonight's hearing.
Yes. So Mr. Reeker, so obviously we've already entered a number of the public comments as an exhibit, but have you received any additional public comments since?
No additional public comment beyond those memos and emails which have already been made a part of the record.
Okay, thank you. Foster Digital, is there anybody waiting to make public comment at this moment?
There's no public comment.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, all right, so we've gone through, there's no additional public comment here. So I guess the question at this point is, do we want to make a decision now? Do we want to do executive session now? Or do we want to do executive session at the end of the meeting and defer the decision until the next meeting? Would anyone like to make a motion to do one of those things?
Hey, Mark, it's Jack. I'll make the motion that we do make a decision for the next meeting. We need to talk, my
Okay.
opinion.
All right, so I guess we have a motion. So Mr. Hitchens, what would be procedurally if you wanted to?
Yep. So what I would propose the board is that you, somebody make a motion to close tonight's hearing. And once the hearing is closed, we can advise the applicant as well as the objectors that the board will meet in executive session following this evening's proceedings, and it will reconvene at their May meeting, which again, Mr. Connolly will state for the record before me since I don't have it written down in front, and a decision will be rendered at that time.
Okay, so if we want to, and then just for clarification here, the May meeting would be May 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. and that is going to be an electronic hearing. So would anyone like to make the motion that Mr. Hitchens proposed?
I make a motion that we follow what Patrick proposed and table it, that we deliver a decision at the May meeting.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Ferguson. Do we have a second here?
Second.
Okay, and we have a second by Ms. McHale. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Okay, the ayes have it. So, Mr. Hitchens, would you be able to go over just again what's going to happen just for the applicants?
Certainly, just so the applicant is aware as well as the objectors, the board has officially closed the hearing, which means that nobody can present any more evidence or any more testimony. The board will review all of the documents as well as the testimony that is provided. They will meet in executive session as permitted by law to discuss the case, and they will reconvene at their usual time at their May meeting, at which time they will render a decision in this case. After rendering a decision, I will be issuing a written decision, which will be sent to the applicant as well as to all objectors. The decision will contain all reference to appeal rights, either the objectors or the applicant, depending on how the board decides it wants to vote.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. So why don't we go ahead? I'm just going to give everybody a minute or two just to anybody who's here for 2104 to go ahead and exit the room, and then we're going to be moving on to hearing number 2106. Okay, and Foster Digital, if you could let anybody in who's here for the applicant for 2106, and if anybody has requested party status, let them in, and obviously any witnesses and any counsel for the parties at 2106.
I will bring them in now.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, all right, so moving on. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read this off. So this is hearing number 21-06, and it's Jennifer DeMario, and please correct me if I mispronounce that, of 447 Amity Lane, North Wales, Pennsylvania, 19454, for property located at the same address, for a variance from section 195-12.b.5 to permit a rear yard setback of 30 feet, where 50 feet is required to permit the construction of a pergola, deck, and patio. The property is zoned residential 2. So if any applicants here and their counsel could go ahead and introduce themselves.
Good evening. My name is Ed Hughes. I'm an attorney from Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania. I represent the applicants. I have 2 witnesses this evening. You'll see a sign there that says Greg DeSantis. It's actually John Antucci. and my client Jennifer DeMario.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, just give me 1 second here. I'm trying to get to I have so many notes here that I'm trying to find the right page. Okay, 2106, there we go. Okay, Mr. Hitchens, do you want to go ahead and enter any board exhibits into the record?
I will, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So at this time, I'd like to mark the following documents as board exhibits. ZHB 1 will be a proof of publication and legal notice for tonight's hearing. ZHB 2 will be a verification of posting of the property for tonight's hearing. ZHB 3 will be the township website notice for tonight's hearing. ZHB 4 will be a copy of the parcel map with the addresses for those who were mailed or should have received notice for tonight's hearing. ZHB 5 will be a copy of the applicant's application along with the site plan. ZHB 6 will be a copy of a zoning plot plan prepared by All County and Associates, Inc., dated March 25th, 2021. And ZHB 7 will be a pool permit plan prepared by All County and Associates, Inc., dated December 4th. I think that's 2020, but I could be incorrect about that. It is dated December 4th, but it's 2020. Thank you. Those are the only board exhibits. I will note the applicant did submit a packet of exhibits. I suspect that Mr. Hughes will probably introduce those or identify them for the record, so I will allow him to do that so as to not confuse the record as to what are his exhibits. Additionally, Mr. Chairman, I will also, it doesn't appear that there are any objectors to this application. And given the late hour of 9:25, I know this board has in the past allowed for attorneys to give proffers with regard to the case that is going to be presented and then have their applicants or their experts confirm the testimony that was offered by the attorney. It just didn't work to move the matter along unless there are specific questions. So I offer that up as an option to the board, which would be consistent with past practice.
I mean, that would certainly be allowable here because of the late hour. So I would have no objection to that myself. So, okay. Let's go ahead and have everybody sworn in. Okay, Mr. Mangiardi. Okay.
Yeah, please raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? You do so swear or affirm?
I affirm.
Could I have not the applicant, but the other person's full name, please, and spell it?
John, unmute yourself. Unmute.
My name is John. Last name is spelled Antonucci, Antonucci.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, good evening. One point of clarification, the required setback we're looking for is 41 feet from the rear property line, not 30. Which was what was advertised in the newspaper, a 41-foot setback. So as mentioned, we're seeking a variance to allow a attached pergolas deck to the existing residential dwelling at 447 Amity Lane. Where 50 feet is required, we're proposing 41-foot setback. I have a series of exhibits which I presented previously. A1 is the deed to the property showing that the applicant purchased the property on October 13, 2018. A2 is the assessor's property records, which verifies that purchase and describes the property. A3 is a Google aerial of the neighborhood where the property is located. A4 is existing condition photographs, 4 separate photographs showing what the rear of the property looks like now with the existing wooden deck, which has a 30-foot setback in one location and a 40-foot setback on the majority of the wooden deck, which is attached to the dwelling. A5 is an excerpt from prior relief that was granted in connection with the variances granted to construct the existing wooden deck at application 1995-09. A6 is a site plan prepared by All County and Associates. A7 is residence plans prepared by Sal's Nursery, which Mr. Anatucci is the principal. And that's sheets 1, 2, and 3 of that document. And A8 is a petition in support of the application. Amity Lane is a cul-de-sac off of Hancock Road. It contains 11 lots, 2 of which are flag lots. The applicant was able to obtain support from 8 of the 11 lots. No, her lot is the 9th lot. One neighbor was contacted, but before the petition was available to sign and had no objection to the relief requested. The other neighbor was not able to be contacted. He was unavailable. They were unavailable. And one of the other signatory on the petition is the property at the rear of the subject property, which fronts on DeKalb Pike and is a flag lot off of Hancock Road. That individual, Mr. Hill, he signed a petition in support of the application. So to date, there's no one opposed to the application. And in fact, all the people except for the person who wasn't able to be contacted are in favor of the application. So my South Nursery was retained to design and install pergolas, hardscape deck, spa, pool house, and patio in the rear yard at 447 Amity Lane, which is zoned R2 residential. The property is owned by Dominic Gennardi and Jennifer DeMario, husband and wife. That's Exhibit A1 and A2. The property is shown on Exhibit A3 as a cul-de-sac with the existing house and the other 11 lots along that cul-de-sac. The property has 25,931 square feet. It's improved by a single-family dwelling and a large deck in the rear yard, which was approved by previous variances granted by the Zoning Hearing Board. The current deck is attached to the dwelling and has a setback of 30 feet at the octagonal portion of the deck and 40 feet at the main portion of the deck. The existing dwelling and backyard are shown in Exhibits A4, the 4 photographs. The proposal is to demolish the deck and install pergola, spa, hardscape deck, pool house, and patio. The particulars of the construction are shown on Exhibit A6, the All County Plan, and Exhibit A7, sheets 1, 2, and 3 from Sal's Nursery. The ordinance allows accessory structures not attached to a dwelling within 6 feet of the rear and side yard. By right, our proposal is to attach the pergola and hardscape deck to the dwelling. Therefore, we need a variance, which has been granted many times, I believe, by the Zoning Board in Upper Gwynedd in years past. Will result in a rear yard setback of 41 feet, where 50 feet is required. The existing setback is 30 feet and 40 feet as mentioned. The pool house, and patio are not attached to the dwelling and therefore can be located within 6 feet of the rear and side yard. And they're located more than 6 feet from the rear and side yard, and therefore those locations are permitted by right. And the proposal is to install a minimum of 18 evergreen trees along the side and rear of the property, as shown on Sal's Nursery's plan, and a fence as well to act as a buffer to the existing neighbors. Our testimony would be that there's no adverse impact on the neighborhood, that the proposed construction is an improvement to the existing dwelling. And if the pergola and hardscape were not attached to the house and were located 4 feet from the house, those features would be closer to the rear and side yard than what we propose. So we think that the board should grant the relief requested. Mrs. DeMario addressed all her neighbors with the petition, which is Exhibit A8. There was no one opposed to the application. And as indicated, she was not able to contact one neighbor. That's our summary of the case. Any questions? I have the 2 witnesses here. If anybody wants to ask any questions.
Mr. Hughes, if you could just have John and Jennifer just testify that if you were to ask them those questions to give you those answers, that their testimony would in fact conform to the synopsis you just gave. I think that would be helpful for the board.
So John, would you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
So what is your occupation?
I'm a landscape architect. Actually, I'm a degreed landscape architect, owner and operator of Sal's Nursery and Landscaping and Benucci Masonry and Structure.
And you were retained with regard to this construction project?
Yes, I was.
And you heard my summary of the project. Would you, if called
Yes, I
to
did.
testify, would you testify consistent with my summary?
Yes, that's reflective of my thoughts. Correct.
And Jennifer, you're the owner of the property with your husband, Dominic Gennardi,
I am, yes.
and you heard my summary of the application and our relief requested and your ability to get all your neighbors to support your proposal.
I did, yes.
Would you agree with my summary? And if you were called to testify, would you confirm what I said?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions here? Mr. Reeker, go ahead.
I've been quiet all night, so it's time to. Okay, Ed, just a real quickie question. The plan from Sal's Nursery, and if John is the appropriate responder, that's good too, indicates 50 trees to be installed around the perimeter. And I thought you said, when you were doing your offer of proof, I thought you may have said a different number. I just wanted to be clear. Did I hear you say 18 or something like that?
There could be a discrepancy. I'm looking at Exhibit A6, which is the all county plan, and that has approximately 50 bushes along the property side and rear. But the Sal's Nursery plan, Exhibit A7, has a lesser number of trees, evergreen trees. The number 18 or 19 is what I counted. John, can you explain that?
I can. So depending on the size and variety that we finally select for that area, it's going to range. The concept is that we're going to try to screen that completely for privacy for both the neighboring properties and also for the homeowner that we represent. So essentially it just comes down to, as you know, Van, whether or not we're picking a certain variety of tree that's going to get bigger or larger, if we're starting off with a larger size to begin with, to have proper spacing for proper growth habit for future.
Okay, thanks, Ed and John. But so for the plan I'm looking at, would you say that approximately the same area of buffer will be accomplished with a fewer number of trees? Is that fair to say, or not?
Yeah, it can be for sure if you're referring to the 50 quantity.
Right.
So again, essentially, they've got some old pines and they're decrepit. There's no bottom screening. There's no branching on them. So they want to remove them or have had them removed and basically give them a wall of privacy to the neighboring properties. So that's the intention. So it could be 30 trees. It could be, 18 trees. Really depends on the size and the variety.
Would Jennifer, would you agree to a condition that the buffer that you would install around the side and rear of the proposed construction be approved by someone at the township, perhaps a zoning officer or landscape architect?
Absolutely. Sure.
Your intention is to create a pretty tight buffer so that you can't see them, they can't see you.
Yes, yes.
And do we also propose a fence in that area too? Like,
Oh, yes, there's a fence.
is that a stockade fence or a post and rail or?
It's going to be a 6-foot, what do they call it? When it's the two, yes, shadow box, with the shadow box being small enough that's required to be around a pool. I think there's a certain spacing that they require if you're putting it around a pool that's smaller than what a regular yard could have. So that's what's going to be around the whole perimeter of the
That's a combination of a safety pool as well as a buffer or screening.
Yes, absolutely. Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, one thing I do want to clarify here, because I guess this was mentioned at the beginning of the hearing. So there might be a discrepancy here between what the legal notice had and what's been requested. So you're saying that you're requesting 41 feet in a 50-foot, not 30 feet in a 50-foot, correct?
Correct.
And then Mr. Hitchens, are you, I guess, at this point, even if it had been advertised that it was 30 feet, I guess 41 feet would be less relief, right? I just want to clarify that part.
That is correct. And let me interject here, and I think I can help clear some things up. First, I believe what was advertised was the 41 feet. And so therefore it is consistent with what Mr. Hughes had said. Second, Mr. Connolly, the chair, is getting the 30 feet from me, because when I had reviewed the existing plan, looking at the existing deck, I saw that it was 30 feet. But it was my confusion, and you clarified, Mr. Hughes, that what you're doing is you're removing the existing deck, which has a current 30-foot variance, in order to install a much smaller area in order to increase the variance size. So you're going from 30 to 41. So that error was my fault, and Mr. Van Reeker had corrected it. So, Mr. Chairman, you're going astray because of me, so it is entirely my fault. But don't worry, the 41 feet was in fact advertised correctly.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure that we're all clear on our dimensions, because you never want to get the dimensions wrong. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions here? Going once, going twice. Okay.
I have no questions.
Okay. Mr. Hitchens, do you have any questions? Are we good?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Well, thank you. I guess, should we go ahead and we can go ahead, I guess, and let's go ahead and do public comment first. Let's just verify. Foster Digital, is there anyone here to make public comment on this matter?
There is no public comment.
And Mr. Reeker, have you received any written comments regarding this application?
None.
Okay, that's easy enough. All right, so let's go ahead and close this hearing. So does anyone want to make a motion here? Do we want to decide on it tonight, or would you rather discuss it?
I'll jump in here, Mark. I think we can move ahead and make a decision on this one.
Okay, do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve as described in the architectural and landscape renderings, that this be approved and move forward.
Mr. Ferguson, if you wouldn't mind, if I'd like to propose a motion for you, and maybe you'll adopt it. So on hearing number 21-09 of Jennifer DeMauro of 447 Amity Lane, North Wales, PA 19454, would a member of the board like to make a motion to approve a variance from section 195-12B5 to permit a rear yard setback of 41 feet, to permit the construction of a pergola deck and patio as outlined in the testimony and exhibits presented, with the condition as offered by the applicant that the buffering along the side and rear will be approved by the township to ensure appropriate buffering as proposed in the plans.
And before we do that, I just want to clarify 2106, not
06,
2109, correct?
Correct.
I guess we want to make a
2106,
motion on that. Yes, okay. Yeah, go. So amending Mr. Hitchens' motion to reflect 2106, would anyone like to make a motion consistent with what Mr. Hitchens had just stated?
I will make the motion that we follow Patrick Higgins' outline of 2106.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes so have it. All right, so thank you, everybody. And then we will have this a decision written. Okay.
Thank you.
At this point, would we like to go into executive session now, or would we like to go into executive session at another time? It is up to you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could propose we schedule a different time to go into executive session. I think that at least one member here could surely use a lot of sleep, and I think she's well deserving of
Yes,
it. And I don't want to
yes.
hold her up anymore.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. So would someone want to propose a time?
How about this? I will circulate an email
Okay.
and we can communicate that way in order to find a time that's appropriate for everyone.
And then I guess we'll just go ahead and announce when we have the executive session once we convene the next hearing. Okay, great. All right. Would anyone like to propose a motion to adjourn?
I propose a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second here?
I second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The